Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to the shop. Today we're talking about this, which is an incredible little tool. This is a depth stop that will work on auger bits. And there are lots of other methods out there for depth stops, but what makes this one very interesting and what intrigues me about this one is it's just a really well thought through method. Let me explain some things. Traditionally, if I wanted to bore down a certain depth every time and I want to do a series of holes going down the same depth, I'm going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to wrap it around and stick it back onto itself. And this actually works really, really well, as I can put that around and that flag coming out will actually hit the surface when it gets down too far. The problem with this is you always need to get to that flag, and that means you're going to be slowly pushing this back and it's going to start wadding these up. And you're going to get chips that come underneath and jam up in there. And it's not very accurate. This will get you within an 1/8 inch or so, but it's just not a very accurate way of doing it. With a normal Irwin, it's a little bit easier because there's bigger flutes, so it makes the tape wrap on there, but it's not as accurate because then the flag kind of moves around when you tape it on. And you're not going to get an incredibly precise hole every time. But the tape method does work. There is also an old Stanley that will clamp onto these, and that works relatively well. The problem with it is once you start getting close to the hole, it starts packing up and jamming with material. And so it's not the greatest solution. And that's where this thing comes in. So how is this thing better? Well, I've seen a few in the past that are great for twist bits in that you can use this set screw and clamp onto the outside. But because it's such a small surface, any amount of bump in that set screw might actually slip off and then this thing will slide around. This one has a very long set screw and that allows me to get inside the flute and it will actually go all the way in to the center of the shaft. And so now I can set this at any particular depth I want, tighten this down, and now this doesn't move. On top of that, it's on a bearing, so as you hit the surface, the blue will stop moving and it won't be scratching up your surface. And it has these gaps out here that allow all the chips still coming out to release, so it's not impacting up into this. And so when this bores all the way down, it stops at that depth. So on a normal one with the tape, right about here you would be starting to clog up the tape as all these chips coming out would start fitting into that. But with this one, there's lots of space for them to move around, and then as that gets close, it makes contact with the wood. It then makes a stop on there dead on. And I know that every one of these is going to be the exact same depth every time because it touches this hard stop. So if you're ever doing mortises where you need the exact same stop at every time, or you're cutting out butterfly keys where you need to cut down a certain amount every single time, you put this on there and it makes a dead stop every time at the same spot, making it incredibly accurate. So at the bottom of all your mortises are exact on. You know that where this stops cutting, you can actually use that as a depth stop. You need to clean down to that. It's just a great, great product. Now, the only downside to these is that because of the collet and the bearing have to be about the same size, you really need one of these for every one of your bits. So it kind of gets expensive. And Tay Tools sent this one to me to experiment with, and I think that Mike knew I would get addicted to it because I went out and bought all of them. So now I have one for every size because this is one of these things that it just made so much sense, and I would have used this so many times in the past. Every time I've used tape, this just would make life so much easier. And so it was well worth it to me to go out and buy all of the sizes. But most people know. So generally I would say, just get the 2 or 3 standard sizes, your 1/2 inch and your 3/4, or maybe one of your bigger ones if you're going to be doing large mortises. But for me, because I like showing them off, I had to buy all of them. So I know for a lot of people, this isn't going to make that big a difference. But if you're the type of person where you're doing a lot of mortises, this might be a well worth investment to get the few that you use all the time. But for me, I've become a bit of a collector, and I can't just have a couple, I have to have the whole set. So I splurged a bit, but don't tell my wife, please. So the nice thing about that long set screw is that it will work with any of the auger bits. It'll work with the Irwins, it'll work with the Dings, it will work with the 3-flute wood owls that I use a lot. It'll even work with twist bits because it'll get down into the flute. Now with the twist bits, there's a large enough surface I could go onto the side here. But I can use these on any of my bits to always get that consistent depth, which is just an incredible joy to be able to know that the edge of this cutter is at the exact same point on every cut and making sure every hole is the same depth. Okay? Should everyone go out and get one of these or a set of them? No. This is a very specialty tool, a lot like some of the other specialty tools in the shop. This is something that if you find yourself doing a lot of mortises or you find yourself doing a lot of bow ties and you're always going to the same depth every time, tape just gets frustrating. And these, they fix that frustration. And for me, that's worth it. Now, I know a lot of people out there, that's not worth it, in which case these aren't for you. But that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love these, because anything that fixes a frustration in the shop, that's what I'm here for, because I'm in the shop for fun. I'm not in the shop to make things. I'm not in the shop to produce things. I'm not in the shop to build projects. I'm in the shop to have fun. And if something isn't as fun, then I want to find another way around it. And these make it fun. So that's why I've jumped in on them. So for storage, I'm putting on these keychain loops, and they're simple things that are designed to be a single keychain, but you can actually daisy chain them together. And so at any point, I can unhook it, and then I can pull out one particular piece, hook that back up, and I can hang this on the wall so that they're all in a good, simple place. I kind of like that little design on it. I might find a better way to do it in the future, but yeah, I'm looking forward to using these, and you're going to be seeing a lot of these in upcoming videos. So every now and then I find something new that makes me excited, because these are, well, they're cool, and they'll add a little bit of color to the shop. So yes, I hope you like this. I know it was a little different, but this is something that he sent me one, and I thought, yeah, it's kind of gimmicky. I won't try it until I actually tried it out. And it was one of those aha moments that actually works with these, and I had to buy them all. I know, I'm a little twisted, but that's what happens when you work with bits. So I hope you liked this video that wasn't quite so boring, but we had a good bit of time with it. If you do have any questions, thoughts, ideas, let me know those down below. I do have links to all of these down below as well as I'll put the link to these ties if you want to see that as well. So I do want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon, people who allow me to do crazy dumb things like that and be able to show off this. I am looking forward to using it in the future, and I want to say thank you to everyone who's scrolling over to the side, people who've become members here on the channel. You guys really are making this channel happen, so thank you. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So until next time, have a wonderful day. I know that this will be something that the viewers will absolutely love, because this is something that stops the boring parts.